So, in Path of Exile 2, it can get very, very complex when it comes to gear. And there's probably stuff that I don't even know about gear yet because I'm only in Act 2 on the game at the moment. But at the same time, I don't want to give you information overload. I don't want to give you a load of information about every last little detail in depth because there is stuff that I don't understand about it at the moment, and there is just so much of it. However, we are going to go through what I'm going to say is a beginner's guide, and I'm going to say it's a complete guide to getting an understanding of how the gear works. We're going to go through rarities, we're going to go through all the different orbs and stuff. I'm going to try my best to explain it on a level that's going to let you come away from the video knowing how the gear works, and so that when you do come to the most complex side of it later in the game, you're going to understand like the basics so that you can avoid needing to learn that stuff, and it's just going to make it easier to process all of the information this game holds because there is a lot of it. So if we start off, when you are in a place like Clearfell Encampment, or when you're on the caravan in Act 2, you are basically in a town. You're going to have different vendors and stuff. So if, for an example, we come over to Una, we're going to be able to buy and sell items. And these are going to be very specific items. So you'll see you're going to be able to get an attuned wand, and this is rare quality, or the rarity is known as rare. And there's going to be a bunch of different benefits to using this. Like you get extra maximum mana, you get an increased mana regeneration rate. So that is for very specific gear. And there are multiple tabs with some of the vendors. So if we go to, let's see if Renly's got different tabs. So you'll see here there are 3 tabs at the top. So here you can get some bows, you can get some mauls. Then you go to tab 2, you can get shields, you can get armor. Tab 3 is going to be like your boots, your gloves, your helmets and masks and things like that. However, when it comes to vendors, there's also a gamble vendor. So if we come over to Finn and we go to the buying and selling, you're going to see that it says at the top gamble. Basically what you're doing in this vendor is you are gambling with random weapons. So here you would get a random crossbow, a random scepter, a random bow, and there are multiple tabs for all of this as well. You can even get random belts, random rings and amulets. And sometimes getting your best gear is going to come from the luck of gambling and buying random things. You'll see this random amulet to buy one is 4,500 gold. But it's not always going to lean into luck. Sometimes you're going to get very, very bad luck and you'll find a better item than you've just spent 5,000 gold on by killing a random trash mob. And then after all of the vendors and stuff, we have the different gear rarities. So if we go to my inventory, you're going to start this game with normal gear, which is the white text on the gear, and it basically comes with nothing. You've obviously got, like here, you've got increased mana regen rate, but it's just got that one modifier. And then what you do is you come from white up to blue, which is known as magic items. And magic items have the ability to have up to 2 modifiers. So you would get your base modifier, like 27 to max mana. And then you would get up to 2 modifiers. So 37 to accuracy rating. Then I could get something else like mana regen rate or something like that. You'll see over here I've got a magic item that has 2 modifiers. And then from blue it goes up to yellow, which are rare items, and these have your standard modifier. Then you get up to 6 additional modifiers that you can put on your gear. So you'll see with this rare I've got 5 extras. And then there's one more rarity. You go from your normal, your magic, your rare, up to unique. And unique is, as it says on the tin, they are unique items. So if we move down and we hover over these sandals, you're going to see that they are orange. So it goes white, blue, yellow, orange. And these aren't necessarily going to give you the ability to have 25 modifiers compared to 6 because it's a higher rarity. These are going to have their very unique modifiers. So you'll see on this pair of sandals, I get 10% increased movement speed. I get +9 on my intelligence, and I get reduced energy shield recharge rate and a faster start of my energy shield recharge. And you can get all sorts of unique items, you can get loads of different rare items, and the best thing is, if we now go from my inventory to my stash, you can actually upgrade a normal item all the way up to rare. You can't upgrade to unique because they are unique. So coming into my stash, I don't believe this is every different thing you can get, but I believe it's a lot of it. And the very first thing is when you find a lot of items in the game, you are going to need to identify them, otherwise you just cannot use them. So that's where the scrolls of wisdom come in. These are going to drop quite often. You'll see that I've got 40 here and I've got 13 on my character as well. And you don't need to use these all the time, because the moment you make enough progress in Act 1 to unlock the character, the Hooded One, which will be available in camps and stuff, you're then going to have the ability to go to the Hooded One, and for free, you'll be able to identify everything in your inventory. So these kind of in a way become obsolete. I mean, unless you're in a place where you're farming for gear, you're getting loads and loads of drops, the Hooded One's not there because you're not in a camp or like a home base, then you would use these. But all they do is they identify the items. So they basically show you the stats, the modifiers that are available on the items you're picking up. Because they come unidentified, you can't equip them and you can't see the modifiers they have. So the Scrolls of Wisdom are very, very important. But then it comes to all of these where you've got orbs, you've got shards and everything like that. So basically what happens is when you've got a normal item, a white item, you can use an orb of transmutation. You can upgrade that normal into a magic and you get one modifier. But obviously magic items can use 2. So you would then move up to the Orb of Augmentation, which is going to augment a magic item with a new random modifier. So you'll go from 1 modifier up to 2. And if we look above the transmutation orbs, you get shards. When you break down items, I'll show you that in a moment, but when you break down your items, you're going to get shards. When you get 10, it turns into an orb of transmutation. And then after we've gone through the magic items, we go up to the regal orbs, which are going to upgrade a magic item to a rare, so it goes up to that yellow quality. And this is also going to add 1 modifier. But then you get regal shards, collect 10 of them from breaking down yellow gear, and you can get yourself a regal orb. And then from that, if you want more modifiers, because rare items can house up to 6 modifiers, you then move into the Exalted Orb. That's going to augment a rare item with a new random modifier up to the max of 6. And then if we go to the last one in this section, we've got the Orb of Alchemy. There is one more, I'll show you that in a moment. At least as far as I'm aware, there's one more. But the Orb of Alchemy is going to upgrade a normal item, so from white, it skips the magic, so it skips the blue tier. It goes straight from white up to yellow, and it comes with 4 modifiers. So these are going to be very, very rare, because they upgrade a significant amount. And then after all of that, we've got Artificer Shards. 10 of these become an Artificer's Orb. And that orb is going to add a rune socket, because there are runes and sockets in this game. So it adds a socket to a weapon or a piece of armor. And this, instead of disenchanting, this is done through salvaging. But then we've got Blacksmith's Whetstones. They improve the quality of a martial weapon. And then we've got Armorer's Scraps, which improve the quality of an armor. So if we have a look at my wand up here, you're going to see it's got Blood Needle Bone Wand. It says wand, then quality is 7%. If we inspect and we hover over quality, it's going to give you a description as to what it does. So for an example, for every 1% of quality, your martial weapons are going to have 1% more physical damage. And then when it comes to flasks, you're going to gain 1% more life and mana recovery per 1% of quality. So quality on an item is very, very good, and to improve the quality of armor, it's Armorer's Scraps, and for weapons, it's the Blacksmith's Whetstone. So then, in Path of Exile 2, you have your runes and your sockets. You'll see these circles on these weapons, they are known as sockets, and you'll see there's one over here on this armor. And basically, as you're playing through the game, I'd say these start dropping around halfway, like the further than halfway through Act 1. You're not really going to get them beforehand. But when you start getting these to drop, you get the sockets and then you get runes. And you can hover over the runes, see exactly what they do. So for an example, with this Glacial rune, for a martial weapon, so if you put this in a weapon slot, you're going to add 6 to your cold damage. And if you put this one into armor, you're going to get 12% to cold resistance. And then if we have a look, let's just say we'll go with the Desert rune. For adding this onto a weapon, you'll get 7 to 11 extra fire damage. And for armor, you'll get 12% to your fire resistance. So they are very, very good, and obviously if you get the Artificer's Orbs, you can add rune sockets to weapons or armor. So if I wanted a socket on this wand, I would use one of these orbs and add a socket on. But you do need to be very, very careful, because the moment you put a rune into a socket, you cannot remove that rune again. And not only that, you cannot replace the rune. So if I was to put this Desert rune into this weapon, and then I've gone, oh no, I don't really want the benefits from the Desert rune, I want to switch it out for let's just go with an Iron rune, you're unable to replace them. You're unable to remove them. So once that rune is in that socket, that's it, done with that weapon. So you do need to be very, very careful when you're dealing with runes and sockets, but they are available to buff your weapons and armor even further. So then the last 2 things I really want to cover in this video is the disenchanting and the salvaging. When it comes to disenchanting, if you speak to Una, you are going to see disenchant items, and then Act 2 it's someone different on the caravan, because it's a completely different settlement. So if we go to disenchant items, what you're going to be able to do is rare magic or magic rare and unique items. You're going to be able to break them down and get like shards from them. So with this blue, if we were to break this down, you're going to see a disenchant for a transmutation shard. So I pop this over there, and then a stack of 10 of those becomes the orb of transmutation, which is going to be the orb that lets you upgrade a normal item to a magic item with one modifier. And then if we take that back, because I don't actually want to break any of this stuff down, if we then grab a rare item, you're going to see you get 2 regal shards for this one. We put this into here, and those regal shards, again, stack of 10 becomes a regal orb, and that regal orb upgrades a magic to a rare. So any rare yellow, like, named items that you get, you can break them down if you don't want them, and eventually if you really want something as magic, you want to upgrade it and use it, you can upgrade it to a rare when you've done this, like, disenchanting stuff. But then when you, like, as I said, there was one more piece that I had found at least. When you break down a unique item, you are going to get chance shards. These are very, very risky shards because what they're going to do is a stack of 10 again becomes an orb of chance. If we hover over and look at this, it unpredictably either upgrades a normal item, so a white item takes it all the way to unique rarity, or it destroys it. And I don't know what the percentages are. I don't know if they're bang on 50-50, but you are taking a massive risk. It's called the Orb of Chance. You are taking that risk of either, like, you're gambling, going from white rarity all the way up to orange, which is going to be some of the best gear, providing it fits in your build, or you're going to completely destroy the item. And unique items, at least for a part way through Act 2, don't actually drop too often. And that's all the disenchanting. So if we come over to the salvage bench, which you're not going to unlock until close to the end of Act 1, what we're going to do is come into this menu and you'll see you can salvage equipment items with quality or sockets for quality currency and artificer shards. So if I was to break this down, I'm going to get the rune socket. I'm going to get the shards that eventually build up into the item I can use to add a rune socket to another piece of another item, another piece of gear, whatever. So basically breaking that down is going to give us, what was it said it was going to give us? It's going to give us the quality currency or the artificer shards. So those artificer shards are going to turn into the orb, which is going to add the rune socket. So I would get the artificer shards, whereas if I was to break this down because it's got 7% quality and because it's a weapon, I would get blacksmith's whetstones. Whereas if I had a gear piece, so say for an example on this chest piece, I had quality and I broke this down, then I'm going to get the armorer's scraps so that I can add quality to another piece of gear. And as I said, there's possibly more to it, but that's going to be it for my guide at least. We've gone through the rarities of gear, we've gone through the different vendors available to buy and sell gear from, because you can sell your gear at all the different vendors as well. We've gone through upgrading your gear, taking it from normal up to rare, adding modifiers. We've gone through the disenchanting, the salvaging, and we've also gone through the runes and the sockets. So yeah, when it comes to gear and weapons in Path of Exile 2, it's a very, very complex system they've got. Because you'll see here, if I hover over my wand, this says that it requires level 3 and 9 intelligence. If we go to my character screen quickly, I currently have 47 intelligence. So I'm way above using this. However, this wand, it has the best modifiers that I've found on any wand so far. And you'll see that it's also got a skill of level 2 Bone Blast. So this is massively, it would seem on paper, this is massively underpowered. And I could use something at my level, because this is level 3, and I can't even remember what level. I'm level 21. So you would think at a glance, level 3 wand's not going to be that good, but the modifiers I've not had any better with other pieces of gear. If you just look at the top modifier, 19% increased spell damage, that's incredible. But not only that, I'm getting extra max mana, I'm getting an increased cast speed, I get bonus intelligence, and I've also got an increased mana regen rate. And I could still, if I wanted to, upgrade this and put another modifier on it because they can have up to 6. So while the gear system is very, very complex and often convoluted, sometimes it can be really, really difficult to follow the gear system. I do believe that is the best way I can simplify it, break it, sort of break it down to give you guys a better understanding of how it works through the basics, like showing you the ability to upgrade your gear from normal up to rare, add modifiers, so on and so forth. It's not as simple as just going out, getting a yellow item to drop, and it comes with 6 modifiers, and you just basically find more and more, and it's that simple. There is all of your disenchanting, your salvaging, your breaking down, your selling, your buying. There's so many different systems. But that is my guide to gear in Path of Exile 2. And what we are going to do is leave that video there. Let me know your thoughts and stuff about this game in the comments. And I'll see you guys in the next one. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it helped you out. Thank you for watching.